everybody. My name is Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, I guess it's always an interesting time in human history, and I guess for each of us in our daily lives, things seem to happen that create joy and conflict and love and dislike and all the myriad of human emotions. And in this particular time, certainly in the United States where we shoot the show in California, and probably around the world, certainly in places like Afghanistan and Turkey and Russia, there's tremendous turbulence, there's tremendous turmoil in the world. I mean, in the United States, we don't know now if we can open our mail, seemingly. What kind of war are we in? How many of our children, of our brothers and sisters are going to be dead? And how many of our brothers and sisters, in the sense of being Americans, are going to kill other brothers and sisters? And how we do or don't recognize these other people as our brothers and sisters. And in that, in the heart of that, there's an experience of love. It is an experience of a true love that transcends all the differences we see. And in essence, the only thing that prevents us from experiencing that is our limitation and our attachment and our identification with all the things that we're attached to, that we think are what we are, be it a country, be it a race, a religion, be it a sexual preference. We are, whatever we are in that, we are more. We are that love. We are that truth. We are that we call God. And tonight's show, again, is an opportunity for most of us to break down the walls of limitation, to experience people who, through tremendous gifts and through tremendous human effort, have developed the capacity to see and experience things that most of us don't. And that is an extraordinary gift for this next 58.5 minutes or 57 minutes or whatever amount of time is left in the show. For all of us in this studio and out there, and whoever is watching this now, whoever is watching it now, don't shut it off for the next 58 minutes unless your house catches fire. There's something here for you to see, because most of us haven't been given the gift to see what these people see. We have with us Michael Tamura, who's a spiritual teacher, he's a healer, he's a clairvoyant, and he's headed up psychic institutes for 30 or 40 years now. He teaches psychics to be psychics. And what does that mean? What does it mean to be a psychic? Michael's been on before. But it means that his capacity to see, in terms of what creates situations in a person's lives, in terms of karma, in terms of past lives, in terms of where they're stuck, is greater than most of ours because of his dedication and his diligence. And he's with us tonight. And we also have with us his wife and partner, and an extraordinarily gifted in her own right psychic and healer and clairvoyant, Raphaelle Tamura. And what our intention is tonight, and from what Michael was saying, who probably knows more about it than I do, this is the first time it's ever been attempted, certainly on national television, is that Raphaelle is going to do a healing tonight, a spiritual healing, a psychic healing on the set. And Michael is going to be sitting with me describing what she is seeing and why she is doing what she is doing. And for some of you who, through one set of effort or one set of gift or grace, can see that, then they also will see. But for the rest of us, put whatever you think is possible aside, because it's possible for you to experience more tonight and to break down one more wall that's preventing us from knowing peace in this life. Each of us individually and as guardians of this planet. And we also have an extraordinary video tonight of a song that speaks to the world as we know it now. It's called enough God. Isn't there enough God to go around? And sometimes we wouldn't think there is. So please, really, please, just settle in. Let this night happen. Pay attention. See what's going to happen. And open your heart and your mind to that there's more possible than you might imagine. So as we normally do, join me in a short meditation, and then we'll have a video, and then we'll have Michael and Raphaelle and Liv, sorry. And there's an opportunity for us all to really know more, to feel more. So please join me in a short meditation. Thank you. So we're going to start tonight's show with a video that we put together, the crew and I. It's called Enough God. It's written and performed by Leeza. I'm sure you've heard her music before if you watch the show. It's from the CD, Leeza Bridging Heaven and Earth. And then we'll be back with Michael, Raphaelle, and Liv. So, Enough God.
Teach him how to hate, don't ask why, just do it. You teach him how to kill, so well there's nothing to it. You teach him how to load and fire for the Holy Land. Take a little more and make him an angry man. But isn't there enough God to go around? Aren't there enough soldiers on the ground? Isn't there a bit of peace to be found? Isn't there enough God to go around? And on the other side sits a mother crying. The son is back, but not for long, 'cause he lies dying. Another faceless boy shot down for their holy land. Though she prays for him, she can't really understand. She says, isn't there enough God to go around? Aren't there enough soldiers on the ground? Isn't there a bit of peace to be found? Isn't there enough God to go around? People that close their eyes, they don't see what they're doing. 'Cause they'll trade anything for the dreams that they're pursuing. They burn, they bomb, they bargain for their holy land. But nobody wins that way. Nobody ever can. Tell me, isn't there enough God to go around? Aren't there enough soldiers on the ground? Isn't there a bit of peace to be found? Isn't there enough God to go around?
Hi, welcome. We're on the set with Michael. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much.
So what is a psychic healing, and what is Raphaelle going to do with Liv tonight?
Well, healing, all healing is communication and the validation of spirit. This is where all healing begins. And tonight, as Raphaelle gives Liv a healing, what she's going to be doing is she'll be grounded, which is very important in this level of healing, to be present. And she'll be also communicating with Liv on a spirit-to-spirit level. So whether she's saying something verbally or not, she'll be communicating on a spiritual level. And she'll be working with Liv's energy. She'll be working with Liv as a soul in and out of the body, and helping her repair certain areas of her being, as well as clearing off some blockages that she may have in her ability to incarnate. In terms of healing, it's all of our purpose as human beings to incarnate more fully, to embody our spiritual selves fully in our bodies. And all healing is toward that end, is to be able to bring our spiritual selves into the body more. So that's what she'll be helping her with.
And did I describe properly how and why, and that you will see what the same thing she will see? One
of the things that's been an age-old problem amongst psychics, clairvoyants, spiritually sensitive people, is that one psychic will say, "Oh, look at that person's aura. It's all red and green," and another one says, "No, you're wrong. It's yellow and purple." And then arguments happen and things like that. And this is kind of representative of what happens in the world at large. It's a difference in where you look from. So when two people, or 10 or 100 people, match the same vibration, all consciousness is vibration. When we are able to match the vibration with someone else, and that other person, for example, like with Raphaelle, will be looking at Liv, and if I match the same vibration as her, I'll be able to see.
And how do you do that?
It's so simple. That's the difficult part for most people. There's no effort, and it's just a level of just knowing, just deciding, okay, I'm going to match where she's looking from, and then I'll start to see more in affinity with where she's at. And so we may interpret it slightly differently or whatever, but we'll be.
So what kind of things would you both see in Liv, in her aura, her etheric body? Why don't you explain just a little bit about that kind of thing?
There's so much to see in a human being. On one hand, you have the soul, who one really is as a spiritual being. So that part of Liv will be looking at and see what she looks like energetically, colors, emanations of her energy. And we all communicate all the time, whether we're speaking verbally or not. And so what is Liv as a soul saying? And then also what's normally called the aura around the electromagnetic field around a person's body. It looks like in layers of colors, emanations coming out of the person. And that will show, certain parts of it will show, the coloration will show how they are physically, and some levels will be more emotional nature. Some of the beliefs they hold will show up in that part of the aura.
And you also, I mean, I've done readings or healings with you, and you talk in some sense about past lives, of past experiences, of going back. Now, how do you see a past life? How do you see what happened when someone was 6 years old? How does that show up?
Okay, that also is very simple. As you know the saying, ask and you shall receive. On this is the simplest level. When you decide something, when you ask a question within yourself on your own knowing level, then your awareness immediately goes there. So whatever you direct your awareness to by the questions you ask within yourself, your awareness goes there. And then if you're receptive, then you'll pick up on a feeling level, on a seeing level, on a knowing level, sensing level, all kinds of different levels.
So in other words, Raphaelle will do that and concentrate her consciousness and her expansiveness on Liv during that particular healing session.
Yeah.
And because you're align with her energetically, not necessarily because you're husband and wife, just because you can do that.
Do that, yes.
And then you will see similar things. And will you see what she's looking at?
Yes. And also, again, it depends on what part I'll be looking at, what she's doing some of the times, and I'll be also looking at what she's looking at. And so we'll be able to talk about those things.
And you've also, in our experience together, in working with the energetic and what you're seeing, you can help clear certain areas. And how do you go about doing that?
Again, that would be on a spirit level. It's like in the physical world, in the body, we have our hands, and so if we want to move something from here to here, we just reach over and do that. Same thing happens on a spirit level, except we don't have to move our bodies. It's just on an intention level in terms of the more certainty you have in being, in the spirit that you are. Then as you decide, okay, I want to move that energy over here, I want to clear off this block from there, I want to dissolve this, and so it be it.
And so the process begins to happen that someone can, where there are, like, say, log jams, can be lessened. I mean, you can't take somebody away if they're going to build a log jam. Again, what's the point?
Exactly.
But you can, in the healing process, explain it, talk about it, share with it, and also relieve it to the point where somebody can deal with it.
Yeah, and sometimes the person is so willing and they're so ready. They already have done a great deal of the work, and they just need someone to flick it off, so to speak, and then it's not going to come back or anything like that. Yeah, so all of healing basically is different levels of communication, and when we start to speak the language of spirit and be able to communicate with someone on a much more subtle level, to be able to hear what they're saying, know what they're knowing, sense what they're sensing, and see what they're doing and what they're being.
Then this, I mean, you've been working at this and loving this for on Earth. You've devoted your life. So I mean, not that it couldn't happen overnight necessarily, but you have. That's what you've been about for an extremely long time. Yes,
for a long time. And sometimes when people talk about spiritual healing or psychic levels, they talk in terms of it's a gift. Well, the way I see it is everything we have is a gift. Every ability we have is a gift. And some of us choose to dedicate our lives to developing certain levels, and some people become artists, and some people become healers, and some people become mechanics. And so whatever area that one chooses to practice and devote their lives to, it's going to develop quite well.
Right. Yeah. All right, I guess, let's start the healing, and all the mics are going to be on. Liv's mic is going to be on, Raphaelle and Michael and I. So they're going to do it, and probably mostly Michael will be describing if he sees something that he thinks it would be of interest. So.
Hi, Liv. When I look at you as a soul, I see that you tend to hang around right above your body most of the time. Sometimes you come in, sometimes you come out. Doesn't mean you're not always here, but sometimes you're flitting around here and there. And so what you look like to me is this ball of orange and kind of a crystalline color on the outside and a very bright white on the inside. And it's real interesting to look at you with this healing because you're bringing in all this brand new energy, which is more in the area of green. And I see this as new information and new energy for the step that you're wanting to take, both spiritually speaking as well as in, let's say, the regular, more mundane areas of your life. One of the things that I see is that about 3 weeks ago, you were sitting in a little corner restaurant. I see you at this little round table, and it looks like you're alone. Or if you're with someone, you're still feeling very alone, but it looks to me like you're alone here. And you were sort of thinking about your life, and then you just, something with really deep within you was almost like a remembrance. And I see you asking God, okay, I'm ready. And then asking yourself, what was that about? And what that was about is that you have been, let's say, going a little this way and a little that way and a little that way on your path, and you're not feeling like you're doing what you came here to do. And you wanted to remember what it was you came here to do, and you wanted to get on with it. It's like, okay, now I want to get on with it. I've done this and I've done that. Now I want to know what it is I'm really supposed to do. And the help that you've been asking for has been to clear the way so that you can start to have what it is you really came here to do. I find it very interesting to have you sitting in front of me, because you're very much, as I would say, as much of a healer and a clairvoyant as I am, if not more in some ways. It's just that when you were about 13 years old, and you started to hit that puberty level, it looks like a male figure in your life, very possibly your father, got really worried about what was going to happen with you as you became a young woman. And there was sort of a protection put into you that at the time might have served its purpose, let's say chasing people away that he didn't want around you and that sort of thing. But what happened is that energy, which to me looks actually like sort of like a being. It's not really a guide as in someone has a spirit guide who helps them out. Perhaps this guide started out that way, but at this point, the being that was sort of put into you to so-called protect you has gone out of what I would call present time. So that what it means is he still thinks he's protecting a 13-year-old girl, keeping the boys away, so to speak. And that was the intention of your father's wish for you. You know, whatever we get, we pray for. And in the case of your father, he wanted this protection for you. So what I see happening is, as you grew up and got older and so on, this being has still been doing its job, or what it thinks is its job. And what's been happening is now, whenever you're, let's say, in some kind of a challenge situation that's really something to help you grow, the being comes in and chases it away from you. So just when you think you're about to go into a new space or a success in something, let's say in a relationship, suddenly the person goes, oh, I'm done with you, see you later, and you're standing there going, what's happening? And so part of the healing I would like to do on you here is to take this being, this spirit, who is sort of not appropriate for you anymore, out, so that you can get a lot more in your body. When you're more in your body, you can have your energy more and your information, and you'll start to remember that the other thing that happened when you were 13, 14 years old is that all your psychic abilities started turning on. And when your father saw this along with everything else, that energy that came in sort of made you forget, because it comes in, it sort of darkens everything down inside of you. That's why you've been looking outside of yourself for a long time for your answers. But they're here. We've just needed to clear out this last level here. So that's what I'm doing right now.
As Raphaelle is giving Liv the healing, what I was watching, even while Raphaelle was communicating with Liv, I was watching the being. It's a very dark, masculine being that was on Liv's left side of her body. And one of the things that I noticed Liv experiencing throughout a good part of her life since that time period that Raphaelle was talking about was not knowing why certain things happen. She's very, very aware, very sensitive. And what was going on in the inside of her was dramatically sometimes different than what's going on the outside in relationships with other people. And there's certain times that I see Liv wondering why she said what she said, or why she acted the way she acted, because it wasn't really like herself. And she knew it wasn't herself, but everybody else would accuse her or blame her for the way she talked or acted. And there's a lot of hurt and a lot of invalidation that got accumulated because of that, with not knowing why other people would experience her one way and she would feel about herself a very different way. She's a very kind and sensitive person inside. But what sometimes would come out of her or through her would be this other being saying, "Get out of my way," kind of a level. And so this is a lot of the things that's been boiling up to the surface leading up to this time. And even it's not even an accident that she was picked to be a volunteer subject for the healing, because she was really asking for this. And even when Raphaelle was just communicating to Liv herself as a being started to let go of a lot of the barriers that she had built up to protect herself and also to protect other people from this energy of this other being. She didn't want other people she cared about to be hurt by her actions or her speech or whatever like that. And exactly the way Raphaelle described her as a soul, very bright and radiant, and at the very beginning, just to give a little contrast of when you're not fully matching, I was still in this place of communicating with you, and when Raphaelle started, I wasn't right where she was. And at that point, Liv as a soul looked like this green ball of light. And then when I matched Raphaelle, then I saw it with the bright light in the middle. That's much a deeper level of vibration. And then she was talking about all this green that's coming in to Liv. That green is the energy of change. So where I was looking at Liv from at the very beginning was the outer change that she's going through, whereas Raphaelle was talking about how she looked on the inside. And so now a lot of this green energy, which is the new information and new energy coming into her life, is descending down Liv's, down toward his shoulders and down into her body more. And Raphaelle's working, you were asking about kind of how does she see it or where does she get the information. She was looking at many different levels. She was using her clairvoyance of being able to see the energy. And when she was talking specifically about when she's sitting in that cafe or when she was 13 years old, she's looking at areas where her energy was stuck, wasn't flowing, and tuning into that time period to see what kind of environment, what was the situation that Liv was going through. And she picks up those images. The rest of the time she's tuning into both Liv as a soul and her energy vibrations and what she's looking at, what she's working on, what she's creating, as well as the aura around her body that's communicating what's going on inside through the body, through all the energy vibrations. What really happens is when the soul comes into the body, its light actually reverberates throughout every cell of the body, and each cell acts like a prism. And so when you put that white light through the prism, it breaks up into the rainbow, and that's what we see as the aura around the body, is the soul's light that refracts through all the cells of the body and shows up outside the skin of the body as colors. And these are the energies and information that we carry. And so now what's happening is her whole colors, the colors around Liv is changing dramatically. A lot of things are happening. Raphaelle earlier on was working on Liv's throat in the thyroid gland area. There's an energy center there. And it was all kind of swollen and with like a dam about to burst. And as Raphaelle started to work on that, it was red to start with, and now it's starting to have this much more kind of a light golden yellow hue to it, and it's softer and it's much more Liv's own energy colors. When it was red and swollen, it was holding so much of other people's energies and kind of negative communications there that it was blocked up. Now it's flowing a lot more. There's also green coming into around the throat area of the new levels of communication that Liv has wanted to put out there, and the direction, the new direction in her life is coming in as well. The being is backed off, Raphaelle. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when you pick up your cat by the scruff of the neck, and she picks that being up and moves him out, and she broke the contract, the spiritual agreement from a past life that Liv had with this being, and as she broke that agreement, the being has now gone off to his next levels of his growth.
The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is some of the effects of this being had to do with he wanted to control everything. So there was always sort of a sense of needing to control this and needing to control that and needing to make it this way and that way. And one of the lessons that you came in to have this lifetime and that you're just really starting to come into is being able to sort of line yourself up with, for lack of a better word, the divine will. And the divine will works with you beautifully because of the nature of your creative energy. You have a lot of creativity, and earlier I was saying you are very much of a clairvoyant and a healer like I am, and you can most certainly learn how to do this. However, I do see that a lot of your energy as a healer would go into creations, whatever they might be. Let's say if you were an artist or a dancer, or even wanted to raise children, or all of the above. There's tons of creativity here, and this male energy being had you kind of operating more on that male third chakra, making it happen level, rather than working with the divine flow of the creative energy and letting that be your direction. So I see one of the things coming up for you as you're starting to bring more of your energy in and more of your own female creativity up, that it'll be easier for you to know what that next level of your creative expression is going to be, rather than sitting down trying to figure it out on an analytical level. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, as Raphaelle's working on her, she's been taking out a tremendous amount of dark energies of some of it was more like a navy blue color. This is the energy of rules and regulations on a social conduct level. And it's interesting that, uniforms, a lot of military, police uniforms, law enforcement, that navy bluish color, because that's the kind of color that comes out from the enforcement of rules and regulations. That was coming out of her whole female area of her space, and as Raphael's taking that energy out, Liv's own feminine energy is this real soft, kind of a pinkish, peachish color, and as that's starting to flow, and very much just as Raphael was talking about, I was looking at Liv's purpose, not so much her entire purpose, but one of the aspects of fulfilling her purpose as a soul, this incarnation, was to work with this feminine energy, both of herself as well as other women, and also to be able to educate men on their levels of being able to have the more receptive aspects. But in the early stages of her development as a child, this is very true with a lot of us who are healers and teachers. We bump into a lot of resistance from others, and one of the things that she's going through now, breaking through the restrictions and the limitations of control by men, starting with father and other men that she's been with, she's had to, on one hand, protect herself. That's the barriers that Raphaelle was referring to, and they look like little crystal, kind of hardened areas of her energy right in front of her body, and to, like a shield, to try to protect and keep that energy of control out of her space. But at the same time, she also got absorbed into having to prove it by being a man, so to speak, and having to prove that she has to be as good as or better than and can do what a man can do, and so she started to match that energy of more forceful control, and that's the part that she's letting go of, and this has been already happening before the healing. I see Liv already had made the decision to start letting go of all of this, and she's just getting the help from Raphaelle now to, like, Raphaelle's got the big shovel and she's shoveling that energy out so that it would make it easier and faster. And where Liv is as the soul, she's just really bright, coming in much stronger and bringing more of her creativity. She's very, very creative person, and she's had these blockages through her arms, especially the lower arms, where there's been this damming up of her creativity. Now the creative energy channels in the arms are starting to open up as Raphaelle's clearing them out, and more energy is coming through her hands. And in terms of where Raphaelle's at, she's been working a little bit earlier when I was describing things. She went out to go into parts of Liv's psychic space, and so there's many ways of healing. In the beginning, Raphaelle was sitting behind her eyes in the body as a soul. She was there, this bright light on a kind of a light peach orange gold vibration, and she was looking clairvoyantly from that space, and then at a certain part of the healing she kind of jumped over toward Liv and went inside of Liv's space to work on clearing out some of those channels, dissolving some of the channels in the midsection in her body. And she works so fast, I can't keep up with her, but this is just the Reader's Digest version of it, real limited version of it. And then Raphaelle came back to her own space and behind her eyes again. And she also alternately communicates with a healing guide that she works with. And that being has been over to her right side, behind and over to her right side. And they've been conferring about, okay, now let's go and take a look at that, work with that, as well as Liv's spirit guide has been over on her side and communicating to Liv on a spiritual level, as well as to Raphaelle in terms of what are some of the things that they've been working on a spiritual level that Raphaelle should take a look at and communicate to Liv. So a lot of activity.
I was going to say, all that was going on over there.
Yeah, well, that's just the headlines, you know, just the short version.
Wow.
There is no time and space in spirit. So enormous amount could be done in a fraction of a moment. And so the real healing is going to start to take place for Liv after, long after we leave here tonight. And that's sometimes called the growth period. This is why some people misunderstand the process of healing, because I think we've all had those times where we had a wonderful, absolutely great evening or something, or great day, and the next morning you can't get out of bed. You're just wiped out. And you go, God, I had such a good day yesterday. Why am I so depressed, or why am I so angry, or why am I so exhausted today? And the reason for it is whenever one takes a step up in energy, immediately following that is going to be the repercussion of unloading all the limitations and all the blockages that you unleash. All the debris from that comes up to our awareness. And if we don't know that's what's going on, we might mistake the debris as how we are. Mm-hmm. And it's not. It's just a detox that's going on.
All right. Liv, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is I was looking at your energy systems and working on them as Michael was talking. And one of the places that you're blocked up the most is in the area of your heart chakra. That's an energy center right next to your heart, and your third chakra, which is an energy center right in the solar plexus area. And in the heart area, or the heart chakra area, there's a lot of family, lots of family energy here, and it looks like to the degree of someone perhaps with some kind of heart trouble that you're sending your energy to. And it's been going on for a while, I would say at least 4 or 5 years. The person seems female, although there's others that I see you heal out of your heart chakra as well. So sometimes if you're worried about someone and you start kind of pouring your love and your energy towards that person, you will also take their energy in. This is sometimes how we heal when we're not so conscious that we're healers. So there's been a real energy block up right here, and this can cause a problem as far as trying to manifest things, because it is in this chakra that you pull your whatever manifestation, whatever you pray for, in. And if it's blocked up with other people's energy, then it can't come through. So that's another level of your almost getting what it was that you wanted or prayed for or needed, and it just can't quite make it because it bumps into this energy that you took on from others that's actually a pushing away energy. And so it is a way to heal as long as you know how to release it, but you tend to hold on to it right here in your heart. And then in the third chakra area, which is in the solar plexus, this is where it's like your energy generator is for your body. And I see that you have quite a few blocks in here, and it's more in relationships. I was going to say in relationship to men, but it's really in relationships in general with whoever. There's a lot of, let's say, early experiences that you kind of have held in here that when your heart gets too full, you kind of push it down here, and then the energy gets blocked up, of being able to handle, let's say, a man who is very strong, or a boss who might be kind of pushy with you, even if they're female. You feel it right here. It's like when a person is, say, pulled over by a cop, you always feel it right here because that's the chakra they operate from. If you're sensitive, you would feel that. In your case, whenever that happens, you sort of go, and it ends up stuck in there. So there's quite a few in there. So that's what I'm clearing out right now.
Yeah, a lot of the energies that Raphaelle's been working with now also affects Liv's hormonal levels. And one of the things that I see with Liv earlier in her childhood, probably had, a lot of sore throat kind of things, and this is part of where she was opening up very strongly on a psychic mediumship level. And so she has this ability to go in and out of the body much more readily than most people. And without the kind of communication from her parents and friends and teachers and stuff like that in the earlier part of her life, she had to deal with that. How do you deal with something when you have so much more awareness than other people, so much more sensitivity? And this is the area that's starting to balance out more. Also, very important part of what we practice, as Raphaelle was describing certain things, what she's doing too is working on her own self. One of the things that Jesus said was, before you could take a sliver out of the other person's eye, take the log out of your own eye. And we practice this in healing, where we're healing ourselves. Whenever we look at somebody else in this space, whatever we carry, unconsciously and subconsciously, comes up to our awareness. So we could do a lot of work within our own selves as we look at somebody, the same pains, if we have the same kind of situations in our lives, same kind of restrictions, blockages, they'll come up to our awareness, and then we can clear that within our own selves, and we start to realize, oh, what's been going on with ourselves as well. And during the course of this, periodically, energy will build up in Raphaelle. When she was talking about Liv's heart center area, all this energy built up around Raphaelle's heart center area, and then she, after a few seconds, she clears that out, and her energy gets going again, and then she can continue with
Which
it.
would Raphaelle see it or feel it, or both?
Both. Usually, she'll feel it probably first and notice it and take a look and see what the energy is about. And Liv's energy is changing dramatically. It's flowing so much more. And Liv as a being is much more in the body. And what she might experience is, instead of necessarily being energized, she might be more, she might feel certain levels of tiredness after maybe, if not tonight, tomorrow and stuff like that, because she's coming into the body more, and she's going to start to become aware of what's been in the body. So when one is out of the body could be in tremendous pain, but you don't even know it. But when you first start to come back into the body, you might notice some discomforts when you're receiving a healing, because you become that much more aware of what's going on in the body.
I'd just like to add one more little comment about what happens during that growth space, because sometimes it can be pretty drastic, and it may feel like, oh, I can't do this, and you leave again, and then you start the pattern all over again. So just remember, we sometimes lovingly call this a growth period instead of a growth period. And sometimes it's with tears, sometimes it's with the tiredness or the pain releasing, but it does pass after a time, especially if you're really good to yourself. Okay?
How are you feeling, Liv?
I feel lighter.
More relaxed?
Definitely feel lighter. I've actually been feeling this strange aching in my body. So could that be coming sooner? Because I've been saying to a few women, I feel so sore and I haven't been doing anything particularly so that I've been feeling that. I've been feeling a real pain over my neck as we've been sitting here. It's sort of changing and then floating upwards, more on my right side than on the left, and floating upwards, and then an expansiveness coming outwards. More like a cylinder, this whole cylinder expanding outwards. It's been more physical sensations of lightness and almost a bit of a giggly sort of sensation, wanting to peek up. And then there's a little bit of an intellectual fear of, oh God, I've done so many different things and think it's gonna all come together and then maybe better for a little while. And so wanting not to go there in my mind into, oh yeah, how many shamanic healings having we done, or this, that, and the other, and then it gets better, and then there's that little intellectual feel going, yeah, but then you go back and fighting that voice, not wanting to bite into that belief. But that's more of an intellectual sort of, jive kind of thing going on.
That's the control you're releasing.
Okay.
So, if you had to, sum up what, Raphaelle had done, what Liv had gone through, why don't you just kind of for the last 5 or 10 minutes kind of...
Yeah, well, the main result of the healing so far, what's been happening is the integration of Liv as a soul, as a spiritual being, into her body more. So part of the healing that Raphaelle was doing was to clear out the blockages and the restrictions in the more body. When I say body, it's not just the physical body, but the whole energy body. And as she made more space for Liv as a spiritual being to be in the body. In the world, it's often difficult because people don't communicate to us spiritually, a lot of people, and so they address the body, or they address just your intellect, and so the being has a little hard time finding space in the body. Even the story of Jesus' birth, where there's no room at the inn, well, that's also representative of there's no room at the time in the world for spirit, for divinity to really reside. There's no room in the body for us as a divine being to reside in the body. And so she's clearing the way, kind of sweeping the runway, so to speak, for the plane to come down and land. And then, only then, when the being is able to get into the body and operate and to function as a spiritual being in the human body and mind, can we evolve, can we really grow as souls. So Raphaelle's healing of Liv is toward that goal, and Liv coming into the body over the course of the next few weeks, even several months. More information and integration is going to take place on a subtle level for Liv. And the more she takes over the healing, Liv as a soul takes over the healing, the faster and the more growth there will be.
And how would, in a situation like that, how would Liv or someone else take over? How would they do that?
Ownership. When we own something, we take care of it. And so really taking care of aspects of herself that she had not been aware of, being able to take care of more of the spiritual aspects of herself, such as the limitlessness of spirit, the timelessness of spirit, the compassion that comes from the spiritual self. to take care of her relationship with herself as a spiritual being. Those are all aspects that help us own our space more, own our being more. And as she does that, she's gonna really take the ball and run with it, so to speak. Now, sometimes a person who doesn't do that, over time, even if they don't do that, the healing will continue. But over time, like you were saying earlier on, if they just go right back to doing all the things they do and that were destructive to themselves, or that caused the blockages to be there in the first place, then of course they'll fill up that whole place again. But with a healing like this, she worked pretty deeply, and it's gonna give Liv some time to develop her levels of what she came here for.
And could Raphaelle work deeply because Liv was open? Was that part of it, or would Raphaelle be able to do that almost in any case?
Well, some of both. When the person receiving the healing is open and willing, it's real easy. It's not a problem at all. But even when someone is overtly resistant, so on a body intellectual level, a person says, I don't believe in this or whatever.
But they're sitting there.
But in spirit, they might be going, please, I need a healing. And so in this case, even before the show started, even before the so-called healing process started, Liv and Raphaelle have been working together on a higher level, on a spiritual level. They've been communicating, they've been working together, and so when the actual physical part of the healing started, it was a breeze. It's just kicking right on in.
And part of what Liv is feeling now is all the release and all the space is opening up.
Yes.
It feels so different for her.
So some of that nice bubbly feeling she was getting, that's her own energy, and especially her creative and the feminine energy that she's starting to experience more of. And then the soreness, she was talking about, that's the thing I was talking about earlier, that as her awareness, her consciousness comes into the body more, she's starting to become more aware of how much tension and how much pain that was in there for a long time.
You mean it was actually, in essence, it was there, but she wasn't there to experience it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So once she came in, it's like, what's been going on in here?
Yes. And that's another thing with the healing. Sometimes a person will go, gee, I was feeling okay, but now after the healing, I sore all over, I have a headache or something like that. And that's just the process. And actually, there was a lot more pain before. When you start to feel it, it's actually a lot less.
But you were almost in a coma, so you didn't feel anything.
Exactly. When you're spaced out and somebody's talking to you, you come back and you go, huh? Did I miss something? And
yeah, just the last 30 years.
That happens to many of us throughout our lives, and we miss, 3/4 of life. And this is why it's so much panic at the deathbed, when if you've been out most of your life and then you come to somebody's saying you're going to die soon, you're going, wait a minute, I haven't lived yet.
What's happening here?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so I guess, again, we're coming to the end of the show, and the opportunity was there. I mean, obviously, if you watch this show, things were seen and things were done that I guess for most of us are not done on a regular basis. But does that mean they're not possible? Does that mean that our consciousness and our expansion of life and love can't come to that level, or if not, have that particular way of doing it, have other ways of doing it? So it just, this breath and the next breath and every breath from now on is an opportunity for all of us to know more and love more and come to the real truth of our being, which is that we are all the same love. So if you want any information about Michael or Raphaelle, 805-687-2053. I'll give you all the information you need. Good night. God bless you. We love you. Good night.